they get in the way of happy, don't they?
Welcome to the Happy Half Hour. I am Joseph Mojo McCarthy, and I'm here with the one, the only, the illustrious Steve Hayes. What's up, brother?
The one and the lonely Steve-O right here. How are you doing, bud?
Well, I'm awake. That's a good start because you
That
just
is
never know
good.
when I'll fall asleep at the wheel. That's a whole other story. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad those of us that have tuned in on Chat Mosa and on TikTok are here to join us for this happy half hour. And as always, we will follow it with the second half hour to create a happy hour. Steve, before we roll into something today, introduce yourself to the crowd. Let people know.
Hi, my name is Steve. You can call me Steve-O. I am here to help you with your happy. That's why we started Happy Life Studios. I'm a messenger, and I'm here to help. I'm here to bring healing. I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to make you laugh, and I'm here to make you ponder. If you search Happy Life Studios and look for that little green guy right there, you'll find us. Or that green guy up there. I got green guys everywhere. I got green guys in here. Got green guys everywhere. And we would love to help you out with your happy. We don't want to curse the darkness. We would just want to turn on a light instead. So we want to flood the airwaves with a little bit of happy, because who couldn't use more of that? And we're going to be doing the same thing right now with Happy Half Hour. That's why we created this. And Joe and I are bartenders today. We're going to be pouring you, we're digital bartenders, and we're going to be pouring you some digital courage, and it's on the house. Drinks are on us, digital drinks. Digital courage is on us. Joe, I'm excited, man.
Yeah. And guess what? No hangovers. No worries at all. In fact, no bar tab. Nothing but good stuff, right?
Nothing but good stuff. That reminds me of the podcast we did a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens. Then what? Right. Exactly right. I'm Joseph Mojo McCarthy. You can call me Mojo. You can find me on Mojo Mac or Mojo McCarthy on all platforms. I am a certified master transformation life coach, among other things. So I'm a playful polymath. I love to sing, play instruments. The harmonica is one of many instruments that I play. I'm a poly musician, you might say, but mostly like Steve-O Hayes. I'm an encourager. I like to take the courage that I've got, whether it's a lot or a little, and pass it on, because I know one principle is true, Steve-O, and that is, if you want, whatever you need, give it away, and that's how you get it.
That's how you get it.
It's like, what? How does that work? It's an oxymoron. I'm an oxymoron. What about you, brother?
Oh yeah, I'm one of those too. I'm a real nerd, an oxymoron. A nerd with zits. Is that what you're saying?
Or a nerd that's breathing. Oxymoron. Either way, that's right.
Oh, I gotta love the oxymorons. Pretty ugly. Is that good or bad? You know, if someone calls you pretty ugly, is that good or bad?
That's right.
Jumbo shrimp, plastic glasses, right? Cafeteria food, really? I got them all day, folks. All day. We're going to be here all day, at least for a half hour. Hey, Joe, when you sing, is there anybody that you like to mimic? That you like to? Do you do any imitations when you sing, like B.B. King or something?
Yeah, well, occasionally I love to sing like Louis Armstrong.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
I love trees of green, the red roses too. I see the blue for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yeah, I like you. Yeah, as my mom, I can hear my mom's voice in my head saying, Joey, don't do that. You're going to hurt your voice.
Yeah, it's going to stay that way.
I'm going to be like Satchmo when I grow up. She goes,
you know, it's like our moms. I swear our moms were like, they wanted us to poke our eyes out. That way they could say, I told you so. Because no matter what you did, you're going to poke an eye out. Your face is going to stay that way. It's like they always... Like, just someday, if my eye does poke out, I just would want to go to my mom and say, see, Mom, you're right. You're right. And then she could die a happy woman. But she decided to leave me.
Now how do you feel, Mom? Now I'm blind.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Steve, do you have something pulled up that you're ready to share?
I do have something. Let me post it right here to the Jumbotron.
Great. And
right on.
He was pulling it at the Jumbotron. I want to shout out to Happy. Happy's one of our listeners. She's also the founder of Chat Mosa and one of the programmers. She's always here to help us make sure that it rocks and that it rolls properly. And Awesome Mary, who's been a guest and also often shares on our second half hour as we do each week. So here, this is from Let It Roll, Steve. What you got here? Oh, can't hear you. No volume. There's no volume on your video, brother.
Okay, it's coming through on mine.
It says share audio tab.
Hold on. Chatmos is sharing a window.
Okay. Let's see. Share audio tab. Where's that? Oh, first she said stop sharing first.
Okay.
Thank you, Happy, for being here. Walk us right through this thing. By how many people get customer service from the founder of the company on
Right.
your
Listen and coming on your show. Hello. You guys got to
That's
check out Chatmos. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. ChatMosa. They're brand new and they are rocking it, man. All
all
right.
right.
That again. I'm going to post a Jumbotron.
Select the tab. That's the one you're going to show. Make sure you turn on share audio tab. Where that is, I don't know.
Also, share tab audio. Problem is, I got my cameras in front of my screen.
Stuff happens, baby, right now. We're right here.
Now, it still looks like it's. Can you hear it? Let me play it. Can you hear it now? Can you hear it?
I cannot hear it. It looks like you. Looks like you talking.
Weird.
Don't know what it's saying. You know, we've had this work before.
We have had it work before.
Yeah.
It's just one of those days, isn't it?
So far, it is. Stuff happens, Steve-O. What do we do now?
It does. What do we do now?
So go live and tell us what you're going to share in the video. If you can just add.
Yeah, I was sitting outside my backyard, just enjoying the day. It was a hot summer day, but I was in the shade, and I had a can of water out there, and so I went to grab a can of water. And believe it or not, it's happy half hour, but it was a can of water, sparkling water, and about burned my hand off. I was like, what the? I hadn't been sitting out there that long, but it was super hot, but I was in the shade. I didn't notice it. When I went to grab it, it was so hot, it burned my hand, right?
Oh,
and so I immediately put it back down again. Well, it was 6 inches beyond because the shade line went right across my table, and it was just on the other side of that shade line.
Yeah.
So I pushed the can over without burning my hand. I pushed it back over the shade, and then it cooled itself down, and it just made me think, and I made a video about it. In fact, it turned into multiple videos over and over. When life gets tough, try this. And I just said, sometimes, when you get burnt, sometimes when life gets tough, it's a small change. Sometimes all we have to do is move something a few inches to make the difference between getting hurt, not getting hurt, between something being good and refreshing and something not being. Sometimes it's just those little changes that make the biggest difference.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, so the picture in my mind, Steve-O, was like, imagine if you're get two railroad tracks side by side, right? And they're parallel. And if you take one track and you change it just like a half a degree, at first you won't see the difference. In fact, you have to go quite a ways down the track before you can even tell they're not parallel. But if you're on the train, it won't take very long before that whole thing's going to derail, right? So I love what you're talking about here, because oftentimes we think, if I'm stuck, if I get burned, if something goes wrong, if I fail, whatever it is, well, I got to quit. It's not for me. I give up, or I suck, or whatever the judgments that we make on ourselves. When, as you're alluding to with the can and with the railroad track idea, sometimes it's just a matter of a little bit of a degree, because even though the change isn't all that visible right now, as you keep going down the road, eventually it becomes obvious that, in fact, you can actually end up in a completely different destination, right?
I love that. I love that mentality. I love that picture of just a half of a degree sometimes. And sometimes, you know what you need to do? You need to just back the train up, just back the truck up, back the train up, right? We say it different ways.
Back the truck up, baby.
Back the truck up. Sometimes you got to back it up. It's okay to back up. Especially in America, everything is go, 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 move bigger, better, faster, stronger, right? Sometimes to get ahead, you got to back up. You back up until you get back to that part where the train separates and go, let's try this again. And entrepreneurs, I don't know if I want to use, everyone's using that word now, but CEOs, a lot of these guys, they'll tell you fail fast, right? They'll tell you that failure. And I know you got a bunch of quotes on failure as well, but failure is simply giving up. The quote I put in my podcast was by, what was her name? Was it Claire Milan? She's actually a author. And she, a quote I used from her said, we don't fail because bad things happen to us, but we fail because we stop trying after bad things happen to us. And sometimes the easiest thing to do is back the truck up, back the train up, and let's try it again and just change one little thing. And every time we change something, we learn a little bit. There's nothing wrong with backing up and retrying this thing. In fact, I think that takes a lot of courage.
Absolutely. Well, so let's take the train metaphor a little bit further, and then we'll pin it to some stories from our own lives. But to stop a train, and I know I used to commute from LA up to Van Nuys on train every day from Orange County, from Fullerton, and we had to go through LA. And to get a train to stop once it's going, that actually does take quite a bit of effort. So to get a train to stop and to start again, it does require effort. But here's the thing: if you don't, what happens? I don't know if you ever saw the opening scene from, what was the Harrison Ford movie, The Fugitive. But my wife and I went and saw The Fugitive, and we got there late. The place was full. There's only 2 seats available.
That just came out last weekend, right?
The Fugitive, yeah, just a few weekends ago, but we had to sit right in the front row, which we never do because we
I hate that.
Right, but all of a sudden, this train comes off the tracks in the opening scene, right into our laps. Right, it's crashing all around us, and it was spectacular, right, in terms of visual effects. But I'm thinking, you know what, if you don't take the effort to say, hey, I'm going the wrong direction here, but I need to back up the truck or the train, I need to actually stop. This is really important too. Just it's part of this story here. I have to stop, evaluate which way do I need to go, right, and then change directions, whether it's just a little bit, 1 degree or another, in the right direction, and get going again. But here's the deal: not doing it, right, either quitting, as you said, we'll never get to my destination, or deciding I'm just going to plow ahead anyway. It's not going to turn out very well. That's
Yeah, not for sure. I mean, and that's when our pride gets in the way, or say, I'm here now, so I'm just gonna. I mean, why? It's like I don't want to be wrong, so I'm going to keep or let anyone know. And so then now I'm more wrong, And going along with your analogy, if a train is going full speed, it's going to be hard to stop. But why do we always have to go full speed, especially if we don't know the terrain? Especially get at the terrain, especially if we don't know. This is something new. We already failed once at this. I shouldn't even say fail because we just tried and it didn't work. So we've already backed the truck up, right? And now we're trying it again. So instead of putting the pedal to the metal, just move slow and steady wins the race. The tortoise and the hare, that whole concept. And that way, and then once you're going, then we pick up speed automatically, and the speed will come sooner or later. But I think sometimes we just we've talked about hurry sickness in the past, but this is kind of related a little bit to hurry sickness, is just this whole, we got to get there faster, better, stronger. Wait a minute. How about happier, calmer, more peaceful, And in fact, last week, a couple weekends ago, Seattle, for some reason, decides to shut down their main interstate, 405. There's 2, 405 and 5. And this last weekend, they shut them both down. So it was ridiculous. But I didn't know it was shut down. Joe, it's a 45-minute drive. I was going up there to help my brother-in-law put down some pavers, some heavy pavers, I'm telling you. And I guess it saved me from a lot of hours because it took me 4 hours to get there. But you know what? I was really surprised, and I'm kind of proud of myself. I'm happy, and I think we need to pat ourselves on the back a little bit sometimes, or because I didn't lose it. I just put a podcast on instead. That's the same concept I'm trying to talk about. Instead of just got to get there. That's a hurry sickness thing. When we can learn, okay, well, here's where I'm at. I'm not going anywhere. So is there something I can do with this? And if we can just move a little bit slower sometimes, I don't think we get derailed as quickly. And I think it's a lot easier to stop the train and back it up.
Wow, that's good. So one of my favorite authors, Steve-O, who passed away just a few years ago, his name's Dallas Willard. He wrote The Divine Conspiracy, among other things, and he was a great professor, a great theologian. And he has this quote that just always baffles me. And, I've talked about it a little bit before, but I don't think we've talked about it here on the Happy Half Hour. But you've led me right down to this quote. Dallas Willard, he says that hurry is the chief enemy of our soul. Or we could say on this show, to steal his quote slightly, hurry is the chief enemy if you're happy. And I was like, hurry, of all things? What about all the other grievous sins you can think of, all the 7 deadly sins?
Yeah, that you wouldn't consider that. What's hurry? So what? I'm in a little bit of hurry. That's not. I mean, you wouldn't consider that a big. You're right. I wouldn't consider that a massive deal breaker.
Why pick hurry of all the things you could write about? And you're an influential person. Why would you say hurry is the chief enemy of your soul or of your happy? But I start to think about that more. I think, well, he must be onto something that I'm just not seeing. And I start to realize the more I think about that is that, if I am always in a hurry, that means I'm always looking ahead
Yeah.
at what I haven't got to yet. But what happens when I do that? I'm not seeing where I am now. I'm not enjoying the moment now. And life is always a series of now moments, right? The conversation that we're having is happening now, even though it didn't start at the time we had planned. It's starting and it's happening right now. And if I'm thinking ahead, oh, we have another half hour show, and then we have this thing, and then I have the dinner, and then I've got this thing, and I've got to be tomorrow, and then on and on. I'm actually, my mind is racing ahead and it's living in a world that I haven't even got to yet. And I miss out on the joy of this moment, right?
Yeah.
Of experiencing the fullness of what this moment has to bring. So I'm like, man, this guy, he knows what he's talking about. And you've done podcasts on hurry sickness, I know.
Yeah. I call them hurricanes because
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's a storm, man. It's a mindset. I think I might have talked about this a few episodes ago, but
Bring it up.
it fits well with here. Is that it dawned on me? I told my wife here, well, a couple months ago. I said, just something's off. I just wasn't feeling right. There was just something going on. It wasn't physical, but there was something. I'm pretty sensitive. I'm a feeler, so something just didn't feel right. And I couldn't put my finger on it. There's no reason for me to not feel happy, to not be in the right place, but I just could not get a hold of that. And it's not even just emotional. I just felt like something was off. And then one day I realized it was when I was brushing my teeth. I have a sonic care that, every 20 seconds or so it buzzes, and then you go to the next area of your teeth, and you're supposed to go through all that. Well, I remember at one point going, who says I have to do the whole time? So I did it. And pretty soon I found myself, I never finished the actual routine. I never finished the whole, because I was always, and it dawned on me because I was in a hurry to go somewhere else. And I didn't realize I've done talks and teachings on hurry sickness, and I had no idea I was even there. But that's why I wasn't feeling right, because you can't be in the moment if you're always looking at the next moment, and we're always in such a hurry, and we're always trying to go bigger, better, faster, stronger, but we're not considering things like healthier, simpler, happier, calmer. I mean, isn't that what we should be judging a lot of our stuff on? I think we should at least include that when we're debating on, or we're figuring out what we should do when we're doing bigger, better, faster, stronger. I think we should at least include, wait a minute, what about happier, calmer, more peaceful, more present?
Yes, 100%. Mary has to check out. Thank you, Mary, for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you here. Thank
Thanks,
you so much.
Mary.
Yes, and Steve, I want to emphasize this, and let's pin it to stories so people can remember what we're talking about. But I just know that from my own experience, if I'm always thinking about the future, what I'm doing is I'm wanting to be at the destination before I get there, right? I want to be at the end of the game before I played the game. And I missed the game in the whole, we talked about just a couple of podcasts ago, coming to a roller coaster after you wait in line. Instead of riding the roller coaster, you just step in the car and step out. Okay, yeah, I made it. And I missed the whole ride. I missed the whole point. And I think this reminds me, of this idea that we've come up with before, and it's not even our own. I think it was Louis L'Amour that was talking about the journey is the destination.
Yeah.
But we're always looking at the next thing, the last thing, the goal, the whatever it is, and all of a sudden we realize that we missed all the things that happened between now and then because we're always focused on the goal. And then we get there like, what's next, rather than what's now.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. What's next rather than what's now. So we should be saying what's now instead of saying what's next. Wow, that's really good, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the only way we can enjoy life, because the only time we experience life is in the now moments. If in our mind we can think of the past, we can remember the past, we have echoes of the past, often which will haunt us, right? Or we can be blowing past this now for whatever future we think is going to happen, which we have no control over, and we may never get there. But either way, if I'm living in the past or I'm living in the future, I'm not living in the present, when the present is the only time I have to live. I can't live in any other time.
Yeah, right. And that's what it really means to be content, to be happy, to be in the present, in the right now. Here's something else that I feel goes right along with this. It's something that helps me when I'm, the video that I was going to play that we talked about is, sometimes just the little changes we make that make the biggest difference.
Yes.
When I get all anxious inside, when I'm in a hurry, when I've derailed, I don't know about you, Joe, but I get all these thoughts in my head. In fact, right now I've got 13 sentences all clamoring for my attention, saying, pick me, I'm better than that one, right? And I have to act like I'm finished. If you ever notice me like not finishing, like I just did right there, and not finish, it's because I'm listening to these other sentences. So I'm trying to act calm on the outside, but inside every sentence is like, pick me. And sometimes they're right. So I just stop the sentence right there and I start with a new one. That's
Yes.
kind of how my brain is set. My brain always has so many ideas going. That's just kind of how I'm built. Okay.
Yeah.
I have found that sometimes when that happens, I get derailed because it's like a blender. The illustration that I get in my head that has really helped me is it's a blender, and all these thoughts are like washers and nuts and screws and bolts and nails and paper clips and all these stuff thrown in the blender. And I've just, because bigger, better, faster, stronger, I've got that thing on high, liquefying, and everything's spinning around. And what's wrong? How come I can't figure out? You got to stop the train so you can back the truck up. You got to stop the truck first. You got to stop. And what I have to do in those situations is I have to hit pause on the blender
Hmm.
and step back. In fact, that's a lot of time why we do recreation. That's one way to do that. It's to recreate. It's to get away. Sometimes I like to go golfing because now my brain is still going 1,000 miles an hour, but I'm thinking about golf. I'm not thinking about all the other stuff. But what I have to do is when I hit stop and everything comes down, then I can start pulling these thoughts out and go, wait a minute, that doesn't belong in here. I certainly don't want to be thinking about that. And when I hit stop, instead of stop moving and I hit stop the train, then I'm able to expose some of these things or figure out some of these things and go, oh, I'm worried about that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still angry over that. Man, I need to forgive that person. And all these thoughts, when I hit stop, when I slow down, then all these thoughts become more clear to me. But when I'm in this zone of doing, I mean, that's kind of the definition of anxiety. A physical picture of it is just, in this situation of, so that's what helps me when I get like that. Hitting stop is like hitting the stop on the train, is like hitting the stop button on the blender. Let all
Yeah.
these thoughts come down so we can analyze them, at least one or two of them, and throw a couple of them out anyway. And that helps a little bit, with the noise, I think.
Wow. So one of the words that you used for stop was pause. Sometimes you just need to hit pause, right? And it's boom, it just jumped out at me because I create acronyms out of these words sometimes
Yes,
that
you do.
and the word pause, Pause, the acronym that came to me, Steve, on this one, it fits perfect in this conversation, is prayerful attention unleashes supernatural energy.
Ooh, say
Prayerful
that again.
Prayerful attention unleashes supernatural energy. That's pause, Pause. And I got to tell you, pause doesn't get much glory. Pause doesn't get much
No.
attention, right? We're always pressing play, and mostly we're pressing fast forward, right? We're actually skipping over play, fast forward, and guess what a song sounds like on fast forward? That's not very enjoyable, right? So sometimes it's actually very healthy and important that we take pause, prayerful attention unleashes supernatural energy. Some people call this meditation, and I grew up in a family where meditation kind of had a negative connotation. It sounded like spiritual woo woo stuff from some other part of the world. But what I didn't realize is how powerful it is for, as you have described so well, to stop the blender, to hit pause, to let all the thoughts settle, and realize, you know what, I'm living in this cloud of crazy and I'm missing out on the wonderful stuff that's going on right now. So the other idea that came to mind as we were talking about that whirling blender was, which fits the hurricane idea, the hurricane, is that even in a hurricane, when everything's swirling around, and I'm thinking of Twister with the cows and the barns and the cars all in the
Right.
air,
Right.
in the center of the storm, in the center of the hurricane, there is called the eye of the hurricane, where it's actually calm, even though the storm around is hundreds of miles an hour and things are absolutely nuts. There is actually a center of the storm where everything is still, right? And I think, oh my gosh, right? This is so important that when my life feels so out of control and so crazy, and the thoughts are going to zillion miles an hour, going faster is not going to help at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually going slower. It's not just, eventually I'll get to back up the truck, but first I got to stop the momentum and sit in the eye of that storm, right? And say, okay, what do I need most right now? I need some prayerful attention. Unleash that supernatural energy in my life because I'm caught in the storms in my head.
Yeah. You know what I love about that illustration too is sometimes life comes at us, storms come at us, and you don't have the ability to hit stop. The
Okay.
hurricane is caused by a lot of, it's not just our hurry. Sometimes it's not a hurry at all. Sometimes life hits and hits hard, and there's a hurricane around us, and you can't always hit stop. So what we have to do is, the thing I like about your illustration is, I shouldn't say what we have to do. What I like about your illustration is we can still be at peace in the middle of the storm if we're in the
Mhm.
middle of the storm. It was not too long ago. Well, no, it was actually probably 8, 10 years ago. Who knows? But I was in the Midwest and I hit a blizzard and I had a little ways to go. And it was a little sketchy out there in the Midwest and the Northwest here. We don't get a lot of, and you get a lot of snowstorms there down in the LA area too, right?
Yeah,
Right.
well,
But it can get a little scary, right? Well, all of a sudden, this snowplow, I run coming to the class, and the snowplow comes up right in front of me, or I come up on the snowplow, and I was like, I'm in. As long as now I still couldn't see where I was going, but I could see the flashing lights, and as long as I stayed behind those flashing lights in that blizzard, I was good. Now, if I go too fast and I go, I get, I'm not, this is going too slow. I got it. This stupid snowplow. Well, I'm going to end up in the ditch, right? If I
yeah,
go too slow, the snowplow is going to be way ahead of me, and then I'm going to lose the snowplow again. So when we're in the storm, we need to kind of go talk about this a little bit, Joe, from your perspective. Like, what does
yeah,
that mean to? This just came to me for the first time right now. But we got to go with the flow of the storm. Like when you're in the eye of the storm, to me, I think it means when I start getting anxious, I'm either going a little bit too fast or I'm going a little bit too slow. I need to stay in the peace. The storm is all around me, and we've talked about the joy of struggle in the past here. But that I think this is a great illustration of the joy of the struggle is I got struggle all around me, but I can still be at peace when I'm in the middle of the storm. I'd be interested to know what some of your thoughts are on this.
yeah. So you talked about snow in Southern California, which we rarely get, of course. But here's a thought that came to mind. I don't know if you remember this, Steve, but years and years ago, when just after I got out of college in Southern California, I think it was you that was coming to speak at a camp in Southern California, and my worship team from my college was invited up to do the worship at this camp. And they all went on ahead, and I had something else I had to do, and I was on my way up, and I got about halfway up this mountain when there was a snowstorm, pretty rare in Southern California, and pretty soon the snow got so thick and so the visibility went down to zero that I actually, Steve, I had to open the door of the car
Yes. Yeah,
and
I've been there.
I'm looking down at the road like, where's the stripes, right? If
Yes.
I can see
Yeah.
that center stripe, I know that I haven't gone off the road. And
Yep.
this is not mountain road, by the way. So if I got too far to the right, I'm off the cliff. If I get
Right.
too far to the left, I'm into the cliff, right? I had to stay on the road, but I couldn't stop because I would never get there. But I had to slow way, way down. I had to. So this is just the illustration that's coming to me, and I could feel in my own heart this idea of slowing things down allows me to keep from having a terrible accident, right?
Yeah.
This is both physically, it happened in the story, but also metaphorically, like you said, if I'm in a crazy storm of life, accelerating is not the solution.
Right.
It's decelerating. It's sort of counterintuitive. Like, well, if I slow down, I'll never get there. No, if I hurry, I'll never get there. If I
Right.
slow down, I will get there, and I'll get there in one piece. I'll get there
Yeah.
intact, and I'll have a
Right.
great story to tell because I
Yeah.
did. Right?
Great
That's the tough.
illustration.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that's counterintuitive too, and you know this being a Montana boy, is that, of course you live in Southern California now, but you still know when you drive in the snow, what happens when you start sliding. It counterintuitive, you want to turn away from where you're sliding, right? But we've learned in the Midwest when you drive, you have to turn into the slide.
Yeah.
So you start sliding to the right instead of turning left to get away from it. You have to turn into it. And when problems hit, when storms hit, when difficulties hit, sometimes you have to lean into those, not try to run away from them, but lean into them, instead.
So good. Yeah. So we're getting close to the end of our first half hour, but I want to share this illustration. I believe this was a Tony Robbins story, but he talked about how he finally got this chance to go on a racetrack and drive these NASCAR cars. And he was first he was driving with a trainer, and the trainer was telling him how do you control the car, what do you do in the corners, and the trainer says the one thing you got to do, Tony, is when you get in the crazy zone and you're going super fast, don't look at the wall, look at the road. Where's it do you want to go, not where you're afraid you're going to
Oh,
go.
I like that.
He says, so Tony's telling the story. He says, yeah, I got this. I'm Tony Robbins. I can do this, right? And he says he got going really fast, and the thing starts to break loose, right? The tires start to break loose as they're going around this corner, and immediately Tony's instinct is look up at the wall. And this is one of these cars that the trainer has a steering wheel as well. Jerks the wheel out of Tony's hands and says, "Look where you want to go, not where you're going to crash if you look into." And I'm destroying this great analogy, but it's really important. What the point is, I think, Steve, is what am I focused on? And I think this is probably the practical takeaway in this whole happy half hour is that when I'm focused on the wind, when I'm focused on the cows and the barns and all the things that are crazy with the nuts and the bolts that are flying around inside my head, then there's no way I'm going to get out of it, right?
Yeah.
So what am I going to focus on? And I'm going to ask you the question, and then
Yeah.
I'll answer you as well.
That's
What do
good.
I what do I focus on? If am I focusing on the wall that I'm about to run into, metaphorically and or physically, or am I focused on where it is I want to go, the direction that I need to go, the best direction? So there's two things going on here. One is slowing down the storm, so I'm not in a hurry, and not focusing on the obstacles, but focusing on the destination
Yeah.
or the direction, not the destination, but the direction I want to go.
Yeah, because like you said, you were in a very scary blizzard situation, even for someone that has grown up with blizzards when you were younger.
Right.
And you knew if you stopped in that storm, you would not get up to the top of the hill, and someone would rear end you from behind. That's just the way it works. So
Yep.
you're going to be in trouble if you stop. If you go too fast, you're going to be in your trouble. So you have to go at the speed to still make it up that hill without your tires spinning and not get hit from behind. That whole thing, right?
Yep.
So the thing I want to point out here too is that, Joe isn't saying, we're not saying don't look at your problems, because I mean, la la la, I'm not listening. I'm not listening. It's like, what about Bob? I feel good. I feel great. I feel wonderful. I feel good. I feel all right. No,
Right.
you know your problems are there.
Yes.
That's why you're looking so intently on where you want to go, because you know that the blizzard is there. That's why you're more focused. That's why a lot of times when difficult things happens, it really increases our focus if we focus on where we want to go. If we're focusing on the storm, it increases our anxiety. If we're focused on where we want to go or how we want to get out of this, or looking at I know what it's like to open the door and look at that line down there to try to, because you can't see, it's a whiteout in
Yeah.
front of you. And so we're not saying and suggesting, I mean, when you're going through a hard time, yeah, it is a hard time. And there's nothing wrong with saying, here's what I'm going through, here's right, instead of not letting anybody know.
Yes.
Um, but in that hard time, knowing all that stuff is there, knowing that the blizzard is there, knowing that the blender and all the things are going around, and sometimes it's hard to stop, knowing all that is a time for us to up our focus and up our happy, right? Up our
Yeah.
focus and just say, wait a minute, where do I want to go when all this is done? Or reminding ourselves that this will come to a stop. And you
Mm.
came up with, well, I said pause, and you had an acronym for that. I've got another acronym that I
Yeah.
came up with years ago in a situation much like this. And I was
Yeah.
very anxious, and it was the word relax. And I think
Mm.
this was before even Aaron Rodgers used that word relax. I was a Packer fan back then. I still am a Packer fan, but he said, relax, relax. And he was telling all the Green Bay people, relax, RELAX,
Yeah.
relax. And I
Says
realized that I needed to relax. I felt like God was saying, Steve, you need to calm down. You need to calm down, release everything, and look at Christ. X was the Greek symbol that we got the word Christ from, without going all the details of that. So X stood for Christ, stood for Jesus. And I go back to that quite a bit. Like, I don't know how often you go back to pause acronym, but I go back to the relax quite a bit. Like,
yes.
release everything, release it, lean into it, see that it's there, release it, and then look at Christ. So we talked about looking at where you want to go. Another thing you can do is look at the God who made you, look at the
Mm.
God who's in charge, and he does love you. There's a lot of people out there that you might get a wrong opinion from. They make me angry. God's not displeased with you. If God wanted to fry you, you'd be gone already. Okay. And we always
Right.
want to blame God for God. The Bible says that he is slow to anger and he is abounding in love. He
Yeah.
made us and he made us humans, and he knows we're weak, right? So he's not up there shaking his head at us. We're doing that at ourselves. So we think God is doing it, but he's not doing that. He wants to help. So release everything. Look at him. To me, what that means is, God, what's going on here? Help me out here. Those are a couple things, is asking God what he thinks about the situation. And secondly, just asking God to help. That's what it means to look at Christ. So relax, relax. When things get tough, sometimes it's just a little change that we need to make. We need to back the truck up. We need to slow down. We need to stop, but we don't need to stop only if we're going to back this thing back up. But we got to go at the pace of the storm. And there's so many analogies in here today that we're like analogy overload, maybe, for all you that are listening. But I
Right.
hope that one or two of these analogies really stuck in your craw, got stuck in your brain a little bit, because when life happens, it can get difficult, but you
Yeah.
are going to make through it. You are going to
Yes.
make it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave with this Winston Churchill quote that comes up almost every episode, and that is, when you're going through hell, keep going. You don't have to accelerate. Don't stop and build your camp there, right? Keep going. It might be one step at a time. And I love Steve, I had not shared our two acronyms before we started this podcast, but think how these two integrate into what we're trying to say here. Mine was prayerful attention unleashes supernatural energy. And Steve said, release everything, look at Christ. Well, if you're going to pray, right, prayerful attention, who are you going to pray to? You're going to pray to something that has no power? Are you going to pray to yourself? Or are you going to pray, as Steve said, to the one who created everything and knows exactly how it works and how to repair everything that's broken, right? So the prayerful attention actually focuses me on the one who actually knows what's going
Yeah.
on, because I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on.
And that's such a great question too, because oftentimes there's people that pray and you think that automatically they're praying to God. No, many of them are praying to fear. They're praying to anger, right? God's not included in that prayer. They're diatribing, and maybe it's good to vent all that out, especially if you're by yourself, if you're around somebody else, unless it's someone you trust, right? But oftentimes what we disguise as prayer is really us we're praying at fear, man. We're praying at anxiety. Oh, I need you to hold on, relax, release everything, look at Christ. And I'm not suggesting that we should never, anxiety comes sometimes, but when it comes, pause, relax. Don't pray to fear. Don't pray to anxiety. In other words, look at Christ. God's in control. He cares about you. He can help. Look at him. Prayerful attention unleashes supernatural energy. So hit stop on that blender. Let everything come to a pause here, and be in that moment and let God do his thing.
And for those who maybe have issues with God for one reason or another,
We get it.
Yeah, we get it. We both have had plenty of our issues with God. The thing is, God's not threatened by that, right? Because he's God, I'm not. But a very practical thing just to leave with the audience here is this called a release meditation. So Steve-O's relax acronym starts with release, and immediately I thought of Brendan Burchard, who has this whole routine where he just once an hour, especially on the craziest days that when he's got so much going on, he realizes that every hour this stuff is piling on and he's carrying it with him, and it gets heavy and it gets overwhelming and it gets overloaded. And so he just does this very simple release meditation where he pushes back from his desk, he lets his body relax, right? And he just says over and over again, release, release, release. He's telling himself, reminding himself, the past is done. I don't have to carry that with me now. Release that, and let's move on unencumbered into the future, right? So
here's a guy that coaches a lot of people, right? A lot of high-end people. I mean, when I say high-end people, I mean people that we would consider famous, people that make a lot of money. They're paying him a lot of money. And here's a guy that's super busy, has a lot of stuff going on. I love that illustration, Joe, because he knows that unless you release, you're just working harder and faster. It goes back to that train situation again. You working harder, faster is only, it's a blender. It's only making it worse. I love the fact that here's a guy, Brendan Burchard, who is just coaches so many people and has so many people wanting his attention, wanting his help. And he is smart enough to realize there comes a time he has to step back. I mean, relax. It's just as simple as even leaning back from the computer and just say, release. Wow. That's a great illustration, Joe. Great illustration to close this thing out on.
Yeah, and a very, very practical thing that any of us can do, no matter what you believe, just release, right? Release all the stuff that's going on. Slow down, pause, relax, and release. Awesome. Good stuff, Steve Hayes.
Yeah,
I love the fact that all this was unscripted and it all made sense. Well, it made sense to me. I'm not sure about
us anyway. Yeah.
So we're going to close down this half hour, and we invite you to join us in just a few minutes for the next episode, which will be episode 23, right here on chatmosa.com. We have our founder, help troubleshooting right here, Happy. And I love the fact that our founder of Chatmosa's name is
Happy. Yes. How perfect is that? Come on.
What are the chances, right? It's so good. All right. So, Steve-O, you know how we like to end every episode, and I'm going to say peace out, and you say
peace in.
peace in. Catch you on the flip side.